Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 22 video where today I'm going to be sharing with you all of my game plans and a full breakdown of all of the setups I'm going to be taking and recommending as we go into team of the season. Now this team I'm using at the minute, it's just an untradeable team. I've got 11 million coins ready for team of the season. The players I'm using aren't important. It is the formations and just the setup. And you'll be able to adjust them through the players that you have in your own club and pick them and make sure they fit in the right positions. Another thing to note before we get into the tactics, if you are someone who is a super high skilled player, this setup probably won't be for you. I've tailored this setup for kind of just people like me, the general day-to-day FIFA players. The people who are super high extreme skills, you'll have different tactics because obviously you'll have some more extreme tactics, whether that be attacking, whether that be defensive, and just some more specialized things that you need. This is built for the day-to-day FIFA players. So for the super high extreme players, this won't be the setup and game plans for you. This will be just for the day-to-day players like myself. Now, starting off with the ultra defensive game plan, this is my 5-2-1-2. Now, this is not... It does not matter whether when you're setting these formations up yourself, it doesn't matter if you have them in the same slots as me. It doesn't matter. Obviously, the starting formation is the 4-3-3-4, and this is my first formation. This is my go-to formation. So in my ultra defensive slot, it is not my ultra defensive setup. This is just my go-to setup. So when the game kicks off, I change to this one. The 5-2-1-2 is one of my favorite formations this year. I've used it more than any other formation, so I know this inside and out, and I'm super confident with this formation. So with that being said, getting into the tactics now, the defensive style is always going to be balanced for this formation. It's a really bad formation to press in, and I would not recommend it. In terms of the width, we've got around about 40. It's best in this formation to go with a slightly narrower width. In terms of the depth, anywhere from sort of 60 to 65 is a good number, depending on how comfortable you want to be. You do need to have the depth a little bit higher. You don't want to be too defensive in this formation because this formation is so good at attacking, so you really want to take advantage of it. In terms of the build-up play, I've gone for slow build-up, so a lot of my players, obviously the 5 at the back and the 2 midfielders, so you need to be careful with the way you build up. But when we get into that final third, obviously it switches and becomes super attacking, especially with the fullbacks or the wing-backs bombing forwards. So the direct passing will be super effective. Obviously, we have the wing backs. I want them to stay really wide, so we need 100 width. So that's really, really important to make sure that it really stretches out your team. So it will leave you a little bit open in the midfield, but it absolutely allows you to dominate in the offensive third because you have to pull your opponent apart to obviously create the chances. So us being on 100 width, the wingers being really, really wide, it's really going to force your opponent to have to drag his players out of position. And then that's going to allow you to obviously have the opportunity to exploit that space that's being created. Players in the box, we've got 6. It's just a really good number for this formation. You don't want it too high. You don't want it too low because getting players in the box, whether it be for cutbacks, whether it be for crosses, is really important. And then free kicks, I've gone for 3 because this is a more attacking formation, just a few extra players. If you are afraid of counter-attacks, then obviously drop it back to 1. In terms of the instructions, of course, the 2 strikers want to both be on stay central. Both want to be on getting behind the stay central, especially because we have the wing backs getting forward, so you don't need them to drift wide. And we don't have them on stay forward. Only recommend playing them on stay forward if you are someone who's playing on a press. Obviously, in this formation, that's not what we're doing, so we don't need that. In terms of the central cam, he needs to be on get into the box and free roam. Your 2 midfielders, both of them are going to be just playing as box-to-box midfielders, so that's really important that you get box-to-box midfielders in these positions. They're just going to be on, the traditional stuff. It's just going to be on cover center and make sure they're on stay on edge of the box. You don't want these midfielders getting in. They're really there to stop counterattacks. And the wing backs want to be on balance and overlap. You want to keep them wide, obviously to pair it with that 100 width. And obviously balance so where they're getting forwards, but not, do it on them and join the attack because that's just a bit too extreme. You don't want them on balance because they are going to provide the width and a lot of crossing opportunities and a lot of cutback opportunities. And for all formations, the goalkeeper is on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. So that is it for my 5-2-1-2. And this is my first formation. This is the one I switched to straight away. So if you do want to do that, then make sure your ultra defensive is set on the 5-2-1-2. And that's just the one that you'll switch to start the game with. Next up at the other end of the spectrum, we've got the ultra attacking. Now, actually, this is my ultra attacking formation. So this is the one when you are down in a game, maybe with 10, 15 minutes to go, you need a goal just to take it to extra time or whatever it may be. This is that formation that is going to get you back into the game. Now, the 3-5-2 is so overpowered. It is a brilliant formation. This is my take on it, though, because we are playing in obviously trying to get a goal as fast as possible. So we've got constant pressure, which is really effective in this formation because it's so difficult to play out against this formation. We've got 70 depth. Obviously, the higher up the depth, the more effective the press will be. You can go even higher if you want, but obviously that's going to, lead to potentially too easy an opportunity for your opponent to get goals. In terms of the build-up play, we're on fast build-up. This is really, really important. Obviously, in this formation, fast build-up is really, really important. And then we're going to be on forward runs for the chance creation. Of course, like I said, this formation is just all about trying to get a goal. I'd rather lose 3-1 than lose 2-1 in a game. I'd rather really go for it and really try and make as many chances as I can. In terms of the width, we've gone for around about 80, because we need to obviously use the left and right midfielders as wingers. We want to really get them pressing onto the fullbacks. Players in the box, we've gone for 8. Corners in this formation, you could go for 5, and free kicks, you could go for 5. Like I said, this is all about just getting as many players forward as you can, trying to get that goal. Of course, you're going to be open whatever you do. The constant pressure is going to mean that you're going to be open anyway, so you may as well have as many players getting forward as you can. Of course, the 2 strikers, stay central and get them behind, same as in the previous formation, but this time you do want them on stay forward. Obviously, when you're pressing, it's going to mean that they're going to be right on top of the centre-backs. Bellingham in the cam slot, exactly the same. He wants to be on getting to the box and free roam. The 2 wide players, again, they want to be on free roam and getting behind and getting to the box. You can choose to leave these guys on stay forward as well if you want for an even more effective press. That is definitely something that is an option. I didn't find that I never really need to do that, but if you want to do that, you absolutely can give that a go. In terms of the 2 midfielders, I'll use both of these guys on man mark, obviously on balanced attack and cover center. You don't want to be too crazy with it. And obviously, like I said, the goalkeeper wants to be on comes for crosses and sweeper keepers. So that is my super attacking formation. So that is the one that I use when I'm really struggling in a game and really need a goal as fast as possible. Of course, it's 50% of the time it works. I get back into the game and then I switch back into one of my other formations, and then 50% of the time it doesn't work and you end up conceding a goal. But that's the risk reward that you need with a formation like that. Now we're moving into the defensive game plan. Now this formation is the 4-2-3-1. Now the primary idea of this formation, this is the most defensive formation that I have. Now it might make no sense why I've got the 5-2-1-2 as the ultra defensive. If it's not, it's just that I had it there anyway, and rather than change it to one of the other game plans, I just left it there. So the 4-2-3-1 is my most defensive game plan. So this is the one where I'll generally only switch to this if you're playing someone who is very, very good and you're winning. So if you're winning 2-1, but the guy you're playing is very, very good and he's getting on top in the game and it's maybe 70 minutes and I need to just hang on, just try and control myself and just make myself compact and difficult to beat, this is that formation that I switch into. The 4-2-3-1 is one of the best formations and the most compact formations. It's very, very difficult to break down, especially when you play it very, very tactfully like we are. Now, the defensive style, we've got balance. Of course, you don't want to be pressing in this formation. Like I said, this is the most defensive formation we're going to use. Defensive width, we've got 45. The depth, we're going on 55. Now, some people might argue to go even lower if you want to go on 20 or 30 or whatever it may be. This is a formation that we are defending in, but we don't want to go like mega defensive. I don't want to go mega defensive and make it impossible to get out, because if you go too defensive, it's impossible to play out. You just get trapped. So we're still going to be using this formation to counter when we can. So I'm going to use 55 on the depth. And because we're going to really emphasize on countering in this formation, we're going to use long ball. So this really is for sort of a sit-in and chip through balls over the top. So this is what this is for. So obviously smashing those balls over the top to pacey players. That is the primary game plan here. The chance creation, again, I'm just going to leave that on balance because the idea is not to try and open up this formation. So I don't want to go with anything like direct passing, because that's really going to open the formation up and lead to counters in an open end-to-end game. And, you do that in this formation and you will eventually concede, which kind of negates the idea of the formation. So we're going to keep it on balance. Offensive width, we're going to have it on around about 70, just so we have a little bit of width with the wide cams, just to make it a little bit more difficult for my opponent. Players in the box, we're going to go for around about 4. I don't want too many players getting in there. I want the instructions to really dictate who's getting there. And obviously corners and free kicks in this defensive formation are going to be on 1. In terms of the instructions, obviously the striker Torres is going to be on stay central and getting behind. I don't want these guys on comeback on defense. Again, I don't want it to be an impossible formation to get out of. So if somebody's on top and getting on top of the game, I don't want to have no players at the field, because then it's just going to be the ball constantly coming back. The three guys, the three cams are Yarzabal, Bellingham and Caligiuri. But all these guys, again, want to be on getting to the box and free roam, because we're still trying to counter and attack in this formation. You know, like I said, we don't want to be a complete low block and impossible to break down. We still need to have a bit of an offensive threat. Xavi and McKennie in the midfield. The traditional cut passing lanes, stay back and cover centre. Again, these guys, proper DMs. You want proper out-and-out DMs for this position, because, like I said, this is our most defensive formation. So you really want proper out-and-out DMs. Ideally, these four players up front as well need to have super electric pace, which most people are going to have at this stage in the year, because obviously the aim of this formation is just to counter-attack. And of course, the fullbacks in this formation are all going to be on stay back while attacking, because obviously we need them back defending and making sure that we are hard to break down. And again, the goalkeeper on comes to crosses and sweep keepers. So that is my most defensive formation. So we've now got a formation that I'm content with and that I switched to in the 5-2-1-2. We've got a super attacking formation in 3-5-2 on the ultra attacking tab. We've got this 4-2-3-1, which is our most defensive formation. And now we move into the attacking slot, which is the 4-4-1-1-2 variant. Now, I really like this formation. I've been using it a lot in Rivals recently and had a lot of success with it. And it's something that I really came across, and it was the formation that I fell in love with last team of the season. So I've kind of come back to it, and I'm going to go with it again this team of the season. And it was such an underrated formation that it just seemed to work at that time of year. It just had a lot of pros that worked at that time of the year, but you know, it had a lot of strengths that made it very, very good to use. Now, in terms of the tactics, this formation is the second formation behind the 5-2-1-2. So the 5-2-1-2 is the one I initially go into, and if I get to half time, it's 0-0 and that formation is not quite working, I'll make a few subs off the bench and change into this formation as a way to change up the game. You know, you don't keep playing with a formation that's not working, because it won't work against everybody. Now, with that being said, the defensive style, I've gone for balance in this one. You could play a press in this one, because it is a very good formation to press in, and it is difficult to play against the press in this formation. It presses really well, but I want the balance. This is a formation that I use to generally try and control the game, so I don't want to go for anything too crazy. Width, just around about 50. Depth, 65, which is perfect for this formation. And then the combination of fast build-up and possession allows me to get forwards really, really quickly, which you can do in this formation because all the players are very close together, and allows for that sort of tiki-taka to get up to the final third. And then the possession is what allows me to trap my opponents in, recycle the ball, and just dominate the game and wait for my opponent to make a mistake. So that real combination of fast build-up and possession is really effective in this formation. Again, the width wants to be on around about 70, just to obviously give us, utilize the width. We don't want everything coming through the middle. You do have to mix up your attacks, sometimes go through the middle, sometimes go out wide. Players in the box, we're going for around about 6 in this formation. We do need a couple more players getting in the box. Some of those midfield guys need to break forwards and get into the box. And then we've got 3 on the corners, just because, again, this is more of a attacking formation, so we need players getting forward for corners as well. In terms of the instructions, again, striker wants to be the same, the stay central and the getting behind. Of course, we're not pressing, so we don't need him on stay forward. Bellingham in that cam spot, again, wants to be on getting to the box and free roam. The 2 midfielders, Xavi and McKennie, these midfielders want to be box-to-box midfielders again, because sometimes they will get in and defend when you're out of possession, but they need to have the ability to score goals. So obviously, good shooting, good dribbling. Obviously, if they can have 4 or 5-star weak foot, that's ideal as well. So we do want them on balanced in terms of their crosses and getting into the box. We want them balanced. Sometimes I want them getting in there. Sometimes I want them sitting out, but I don't want them moving off of balanced attack. In terms of the wide players, Caligiuri and Yarzabal, again, they want to be on free roam, which is going to allow them to drift in the final third, which works well with the possession. They get in behind and they get into the box as well, which obviously lines up with what we wanted on the tactic side of things. And then in this formation, I've got the fullbacks on stay back while attacking. Of course, we want that solid foundation to work from. And we don't want to give away any free chances. Obviously, team of the season, everyone's going to have super quality players. So you don't want to give up anything for free. And then obviously, Van der Sar on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. So that is it for my game plan. That is what we've got it set up as. And you can see that is a bulletproof setup. We've got Just 4 fantastic formations, and we've got every scenario covered. We've got our starting formation, we've got a backup formation, we've got a defensive formation for when we're leading games and we're trying to protect a result, and we've got a formation ready to get back into games when we need. This setup will be absolutely bulletproof when it comes to team of the season, so I recommend at least giving this a go and trying it out. This is what I'm going to be using all throughout team of the season. It's going to be so good, and I'm looking forward to using all of these setups and obviously improving the team with the quality of players we're going to get. But that is it for today's video, guys. So if you did enjoy, make sure you do drop a thumbs up and make sure you do subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.